So my name is James Hudson. I am performance nutritionist and in charge of recovery sports science here at Gloucester Rugby. I was fortunate enough to get to play for 15 years as a professional, finishing my career here at Gloucester 7 years ago now, which has gone quite quickly. And during that time I studied, before I went professional, studying biochemistry, and then I did postgraduate in sports nutrition, and I've recently finished my PhD in molecular and exercise physiology alongside some research I did with the playing group. I always knew this is what I wanted to do, so when I started off 15 odd years ago before I retired, back in 2002 I think, when I first started as a professional, I knew this is what I wanted to work in, but it wasn't really a thing back then, and it quickly developed through, I suppose, the late 2000s as becoming more, sports science grew massively and became a more focused area around the preparation of the players. So one of the pillars is the body composition of the players, so what they're made up of. So we want the players to obviously maximise their rugby potential and their performance levels on the pitch. So that might be their ability to repeat lots of really high intensity intervals of running. It might be their ability to win collisions, as a lot of the game is built around. And to do that, you need a certain balance of muscle or lean tissue, so muscle mass, bone, and also fat mass. So we need a combination of both. It's not as being as lean as possible, but it's also then making sure that that balance between lean tissue and fat mass gives them the best to win collisions, but also to be fast, have good levels of acceleration and top speed in the backs. So depending on their position as well as their demands of the game, we can then try and optimize their composition. And that's individual, but across the positions, we've got a fairly good idea of what good and elite looks like. So we can work towards that over the course of someone's development when they come out of school, all the way through to hopefully playing for the first team.
All the stuff we're doing around training, in the gym, on the field, we need to adapt to that and fuel the work we're doing. So our nutritionist, Huddo, is massive on fueling the week, fueling the work. So, you know, before the session, we need to have enough energy to complete it at the max intensity, and then afterwards we need to make sure that we're recovering and maximising our adaptation from it, so it's very important. For me, my diet's big, so for example at breakfast I'll have a big bowl of porridge, get my carbohydrates in for the day. He's always coming up with new ideas to sort of and get us, you know, an edge on performance over other clubs, so you know, he's very committed to what he does, and lots of good facilities now, so yeah, he's really top notch.
What is brilliant working at this club is that, you know, between George and Dan Tobin, they've got a really clear idea of what the game model is, how they want to play the game, and that feeds down into us as sports science practitioners, because then we know what we're aiming to achieve with the players. So I know where they want players to be from a physical perspective, and I can complement what I try and do from what we feed them, what they drink, to making sure that we can optimise that ability to fulfil their role within the game model. So that's the primary function around body composition, but most of all we want healthy players. We want players who can turn up every day and perform at a high level. So to do that, we need to make sure they're fueled well, so understanding how they do that with portions and guidelines of choices around carbohydrate foods and fat containing foods, and where they want their protein intake to come from throughout the day. So understanding some really clear guidelines around how they build their nutrition each day. And then hopefully what we do here is provide them with the choices they can make, you know, good choices obviously when they're here, but also get their portions right and understand how much, when, of what they need.
We're very, very lucky to have Huddo. He's very, very particular. He knows nutrition inside out, and you know, he works very closely with our chef to make sure the boys are having really good quality meals that taste nice as well, which they do a great job of. But yeah, I mean, he's always got someone in his office, you know, weighing them, taking their fat skin folds, and he's on top of it, and he does a great job as well. But we're very lucky to have him. You know, rugby is a physical game, obviously, so you've got to be a certain size, but you can't carry too much weight. So the balance is very, very tricky, and it takes a number of years for you to work out your balance. And someone like Huddo, you know, he gives you that opportunity to experiment and listen to what he says, and all the research he's done and the players he's worked with, he can get you there quicker and help you maintain it when you get there.
We can guide them really closely here, but then when they're away from here, we want them to make good decisions on the choices they make, but also then have a good understanding of the different days during the week, how they fuel themselves properly to maintain their physical profile, but also optimise their performance. So when do we need to have really higher carbohydrate intakes and days to make sure that they're training well and fueling properly the following day and towards matches? And when actually do we need to reduce those portions to make sure that they're maintaining their profile, but then also staying healthy at the same time? So there's lots of different elements at play, but most of all we want them to enjoy what they're eating, be able to go and cook and look after themselves well at home. So we spend a good amount of time with them teaching on that front. and really remove any big barriers to them being able to do it when they're away from the club as well. When it's a really high workload and it's pre-season, we're trying to optimise those physical profiles, but actually this year with the World Cup, we've got a really good opportunity with some extra time to build on that muscle mass and that lean body mass that we have with the players, especially with the forwards. So it's been a really nice change, if you like, to have a longer pre-season, have more focus on that, and the boys have responded really well to it. And also there's a tendency in the pre-season where players are trying to kind of get back to their best condition, that they may be under fuel at times, and actually we want the opposite. We want the quality of sessions to be really high, them to be able to fulfill all their really high intensity demands. So I want to make sure there's options out here that they want to eat and that are really high in that carbohydrate fuel. And it's almost trying to make sure that we're doing that throughout the weeks, rather than potentially underfueling and not getting the most from these weeks of training. Having Will in terms of the performance chef is brilliant, because I can design things, but then he makes it happen on the plate, if you like. So between us, we can have a really good working relationship to make sure that we're achieving the end product, the science behind it, but also the end product. And then to complement that as well, having the ability to have our own dining space is fantastic, because we can label things, we can put up infographics and make sure that there's the environment to try and promote those cues as well. And then the recovery facilities as well, it's fantastic. We have the ability to expose the players with heat and cool, with saunas and ice baths and things like that during the week. And there's different days where we want to do that, but having the facilities at hand is fantastic, and it means we can promote those behaviours straight away.